All right, welcome back. AZ-303 Module 1, and this is about Azure Active Directory, but we will be focusing on multi-factor authentication and conditional access. So let's first understand theoretically what are they really mean. So many of us have experienced this kind of screen while logging into the system. So after we provide our username and password, it will further ask whether we want to have a text message or get a call and then provide the key or use the authenticator app to um, get ourselves authenticated. That's what the second factor is. And then because we have provided the password already, and then again getting challenged, we call it multi-factor authentication. And this is common scenario in many enterprise authentication system. Uh, what is conditional access in this aspect? So conditional aspect is basically if then kind of situation. And that situation is because you have different kind of users sitting in different kind of locations, using different kind of devices, accessing different kind of applications. So you have many different conditions and based on which you need to react. For example, if someone sitting within the office network inside the office building and then using the IT managed hardware connecting to some local network trying to access a local application, multi-factor authentication will be too much because it is already secure, right? So you might want to enable multi-factor authentication when the same person using the same device sitting outside of the office network, right? Take an example. Let's say this user here right now sitting at home trying to access an Office 365 application. And then what this person will be providing is his or her username and password. And then because this condition is matching, because he or she is sitting outside of the office network using IT managed laptop, that is okay. And accessing something like Office 365, which has got many files and user data, you will be challenged with multi-factor authentication because now the condition is that the person is outside of the office network, right? And then once this multi-factor authentication kicked in, and then you provide the right username, password, plus the whatever option you have selected, either a message or a call or authenticator app, you'll be given access to required application, either it is Office 365 on any SaaS solution, even on-premises application, anything of that sort. So you might find that you sometimes get challenged, you sometimes do not get challenged. That's mainly because the Azure Active Directory has got a conditional access policy, and you can define these policies like whether you want a location-based policy, whether you want an IP range-based policy. So when you basically sitting inside the office, you know the proxies, right? So you know the IP address range. So you go ahead and then enable any IP outside of that range to be challenged by MFA. Huh? So that is something which we'll see in our demo. So let's go into our demo machine. Let me come to that. And what I'm going to do is that I'm going to switch to the Active Directory we have created. So right now we are here at this point in time. And then we go to the Active Directory dashboard. You get to see that I have converted this Azure Active Directory, which I have created, into premium. So this feature is available with premium version of Active Directory. If your Azure Active Directory is not premium, then you will not get to see this option enabled. So you will not be able to really work on it. So that's right now Azure AD Premium P2 I'm using, which is definitely a trial because this is a test AAD I have created just now, few hours back, and I converted that into this. What I wanted to now do is that I wanted to go to the security, right? And then in that security, you have many different options. So one of this is that conditional access. Here you can define a new policy. So if you create a new policy, it says like to whom this policy will be applied. Do you want to apply to individual user or a group? So generally we use a group of users because it's easier for us to manage. So whenever there's a new employee, we can create an employee group and then we just apply the policy to the employee group. So it doesn't matter how many employees are there. Into all those employees, it will be used, implemented to all users, to specific users, right? So you might have, let's say, out of 100 people working in the office, 50 are mobile. So you want to enable only to those 50 people, all right? So that those kind of things you can define. You can define what are those application, right? Is it a cloud app or user app? So what kind of application you want to enable this? The another condition is like uh, when they are at risk or there's a device platform specific. For example, so if you click here, you see that you want to configure it any device, select a device platform. So you want to only challenge if someone is using Android devices. Let's put it that way. Or if someone is using, let's say, iOS, okay, and you will be challenged. So this is the choice of yours, and this is how you configure that. You can even choose a location. So you know that most of your, let's say, operation is in Europe, right? And then you want to configure what are the trusted locations, right? And then you can just select the locations, right? So for example, you create the location first and then you pick it up from there. So I'll show you how you can create the location. So let me show you the second option. What all the other option, the client app. So you want to configure the client app. So whether it is a browser-based mobile application, what kind of a client app you are talking about, and then what is the device state, right? So I'll just quickly show you that device state. You can see that all device state are exclude, right? Hybrid Azure AD joined, device marked as compliant, right? We want to exclude those devices if they're compliant by are managed by IT, so we don't want to really challenge those things, right? So you want to also do something like access control, right? What do you want to do? Do you want to enable the multi-factor authentication? Only when somebody enters the MFA, then they'll be able to access it. What is the session details someone might be working on, right? So is it a daily once or a persistent browser session? So what kind of scenario you want to do that? So you go to back to the security and then I say, okay, because I'm not saving anything, I go into the conditional access and I see the named location. So what you can do, you can define the location you might want to have. So for example, you can have IP ranges. You can select the IP ranges by defining the range of IP addresses, or you can pick up which country you want to work from. So either way, whichever works for you, you can select that. IP ranges is the more granular, fine-grained one. And so you want to ensure that people are sitting in the office not getting challenged by MFA. That's a trusted location. That's where my office is. That's where everything resides. So I know my network is secure. So I don't want to really challenge anybody. So I know the person who is connected to the network, sitting inside the network, definitely an employee, right? So that's how you trust, and or you go with a zero trust. You challenge everybody with MFA, and everybody will get that prompt. So let's see the experience here. So for example, if I now go into, let's say, users, and I create a new user, and I say that I want to say this, and then I give a name as this, and I say, let me create a password, and I create this user. So what I've done is that I have created a new user, and then I will use this new user account to log in to Azure portal. So let me go ahead. Right now, this is a simple user and it has only username and password. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to go ahead and then log into a new incognito window. That's when I'll say log in dot microsoftonline.com. If I use this, then I'll be challenged. So let me provide this username. That looks fine. And then I'll be challenged by the password I set. So let me first enter that password. And once I enter this password, this will ask me to change the password immediately for the first time when you log in. So that's all the setting you can do in the Azure Active Directory. So let me provide again the password which was given to me or created by me, and then I provide a new password. So you can define also the policy of how you want to handle it. So do you want to enforce the password change policy or not, etc. You can do that. So let me first change the password. So I'll say yes, and I am logged in. You can see that I basically get inside that thing, right? And then it takes me to the Office 365. So I do not have any kind of mm, access to it, right? So if I go into portal.azure.com, I should be able to see something out of that. So basically, I'm able to use the same credential to log in, and then you can see that the logged in user is shown here. That's the user I have just now created. So it'll all fine. So I'll say sign out. Okay, I come out of that. So you notice that except for changing the password, it did not really challenge me anything. So what I'm now going to do is that I'm going to go to this Active Directory, go back to the security, get into the MFA, that's multi-factor authentication, right? And then you can see that I can either enable MFA from here, or if I go into conditional access, I can even configure MFA and trusted IP addresses from here. So if I click on that MFA and trusted IP addresses from conditional access, it takes me to the AAD setting, right? And then it allows me to enable MFA for specific user or group of users or set up users or all users, whichever way. So let me enable MFA for this user. You can see that it is right now disabled. So I want to enable that. You can actually enable by default for all the newly added user. You can do that also. So if I say enable and I say enable multi-factor authentication, this is an admin activity. Okay. So this is right now I'm not logged in using the newly created user. I'm logged in using the super admin. So you can see that now it is enabled. Now this time, if I try to log in, can I copy? No. If I try to log in, let me try to log in here. And I say log in.microsoftonline.com. Okay, and then I just say this, and this time I'll provide the changed password. Okay, if everything is fine, if MFA has kicked in, it will ask me now to do some setup, and this is the MFA setup. What is this setup is all about? So if I click here, the moment MFA is enabled for me, if it is by default enabled, as soon as the user is created, MFA is activated. If that is the case, then it will be for the first time when I do that. Now it asks me what I want to do. I need to set a different authenticator app, or I want to use Microsoft Authenticator app. Which one I want to do? So I say I want to use Microsoft Authenticator app. That's fine. I hit next, and then I say next. This time, what it's going to do, it's going to go ahead and give me a QR code. So if you have a smartphone and then that smartphone has got a authenticator app installed, you can just scan this thing. So let me try doing that. So you search for authenticator uh, in the Play Store for Android, and it will show you the app. So let me add an account here, and I say work or school account. I'll say scan a QR code, and I try to scan this QR code. Okay, and it figures out something. All right. Once I can see that, I say next. What happens here, if my phone, it gives me some code after I um, scan it, and it asks me whether I want to approve it. So I approve in my Authenticator app, and it says notification approved. Okay, you can see that. And then if I hit next, okay, and then it says registered, and I say done. That's my second factor authentication. What happens every time I try to log in? Let me do that. And I sign out. I come over here and I close this browser session. I open another browser. I go into incognito and I say login.microsoftonline.com, and I say this username and the domain. And you notice here, the moment I provide the password, okay, it will not let me in. It will say that there is some second factor authentication which went into your Microsoft Authenticator app. Because I chose to have Microsoft Authenticator app, you can choose to have also a text message or a phone call. Then you need to provide the phone number. So you can even use the employee phone number to auto enable the multi-factor authentication, which will automatically give them a call, right? And you, once you accept the call and then follow the instruction, so you will get to see. So I approve it here from my app. I first need to log into my phone authenticator, and I need to say approve. And at the moment I say approve, it takes me in to the portal, right? Now I'm logged in, right? Without that, I won't be able to log in. So I'll show you that experience also. So right now I'm in Azure portal.azure.com, and I did two-factor authentication, right? I first logged in using my password, and then I approved my login through the phone app. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to sign out. I'm going to close this, okay? And I'm going to open the browser session again, just to make sure that none of the things are getting stored. That's one of the things you might want to test when you play with it. So I go to the portal.azure.com and I provide the username, same username, and I provide the password, the right password. Okay. So one factor has passed. But what this time I'll do different. I will not approve my multi-factor authentication. Rather, I have an option to say deny. So I see a pop-up in my phone which says that there is a login happening for this user. They say the username and they say, do you approve or deny? I said deny. This time I deny. And you can see that immediately in the screen, the request denied comes up, which means that either I did not respond on time or explicitly pressed on deny. And then I say there is a trouble. and then I'm not allowed to enter into the portal, even if I have provided the right password. So that's the second challenge. That's when I am being challenged when I'm sitting outside of my office boundary, right? So you can basically use this multi-factor enabled user account to have, let's just to have Office 365 kind of application. And then if they're within the office, they will not be challenged. If they're outside of the office, they'll be challenged because then I can figure out based on the location condition. So let me log in here. Then I just logged into the Azure portal and I switch to the newly created uh, Active Directory where I have enabled the multi-factor authentication. And if I go into the Active Directory now, I see the security tab and I get to see the MFA here, right? And then I say account lockout. There are multiple different options also you can do. You can just say one-time bypass. You can define all those policies, rules. You can even have the report, right? You can read all those details, right? So, and then you can block or unblock users. So for example, if I want to block a specific user, so I just say that I want to block this user. And then I want to say that lost the phone, I can block that user. So you can do all sort of things by specifying certain things. For example, you get a call from an employee saying that I lost my laptop. Immediately, the first thing you would be doing is that blocking that user so that nobody should be able to access the internal portal. So you can control that thing. And in fact, that's what IT ops will be using quite frequently. In the conditional access, once you enable the multi-factor, when you define the policy, right, you can just define the policy and then configure the MFA. After you configure that MFA, you go back to the condition saying that, hey, I want to really work on something which makes my application secure. So I go back into this and say, let me just open the diagram again for you guys. I say that when someone, let's say, let me run it, when someone is really outside of the office, huh, their home or anywhere, not in the office premises, using Office 365 should require MFA, and only when they successfully cross both the hurdles, they'll be given access to this application. That's a kind if-then kind of condition. That's why we call it as a conditional access. And together with location, IP range, devices, many different conditions you have seen in the conditional access, right? Application, you can provide these kind of challenges. Or you say that I don't trust anything, anybody. So let's have the MFA irrespective of whatever it is. So there are many companies who does that. So even if you're sitting inside the office premises, you still get challenged. So that's more secure. That's what we call as zero trust, right? And then you don't trust anything. You just go ahead with the standard policy applied for everybody and everything, right? So this is a little bit about conditional access and multi-factor authentication and how you can enable that in Azure Active Directory Premium Edition. So you just need to remember that your pricing tier should be premium. Azure Active Directory should be premium enabled. Then only you get to see these options. With this, I want to end here and thank you very much.